Hello, it's Karina Gould here, your Member of Parliament. I'm having this Facebook Live chat to answer some of the questions that have been coming into my office with regards to our government's COVID-19 response. I know a lot of people are feeling anxious and maybe even afraid right now, but I do really want to reassure everyone that the really extraordinary measures that our government and all levels of government are taking right now is to try our very best to stop the spread of COVID-19 and to protect the health, safety, and economic well-being of Canadians. um, I also just want to thank everyone in Burlington and around the country who are taking these measures very seriously. The Prime Minister said the other day that, our civic duty right now is to follow the guidelines of public health. We are in a fight against COVID-19. We are in a fight against this virus. And the actions of all of us are going to determine what we do and how we come out of this. And I can say that I've been incredibly heartened by the incredible response that we've seen here in our community, right across Ontario and right across the country. So I really just want to thank everyone for taking this very, very seriously. I also want to thank the frontline workers, the healthcare professionals, the grocery store clerks, the people that are driving the trucks to make sure that we all get food. Thank you to them for, going to work and just reminding everyone that, part of the reason why we're being asked to stay home is to support their health and safety as well. And so, this is one of the questions that I often get asked in my office is what are we doing to protect the people who are still going to work, who have to leave their homes, who can't stay home. And part of it is physical distancing, right? And so limiting the amount of time that all of us leave our homes, go outside, go to the grocery store, not going to the doctor if we don't need to, and not filling up our emergency rooms is really important to make sure that the people who are there working to help protect and support us can be confident and safe in what they're doing. I also just wanted to talk a little bit about what I've been hearing from the community. So I thought I would go through the top 5 questions that my office is getting, and then obviously, open to sharing a little bit more and responding to any of the questions that you may have. This is the first time that I'm doing a Facebook Live like this, so we're going to see how it goes. So thanks to everyone who's tuning in. And if you have something that you think of after this, you can always email my office. The email is karina.gould@parle.gc.ca, or call my office at 905-639-5757. We're all doing our part by working remotely, but we are here to support you in Burlington. And just before I get to those top 5 questions, I also just wanted to mention that CBC Kids is going to be doing a Q&A with the Prime Minister tomorrow. So for any kids who are watching or parents who are watching this, you can get your questions submitted by 6 p.m. today, and CBC Kids will be airing tomorrow at 9 a.m. with the Prime Minister. So, that I think I've shared that link on my Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So you can find it there. But I think it's really important because, I know that working from home or being isolated can be really, really tough on folks of all ages, and particularly for kids who aren't in school right now. This is a long time to be at home, and we know it's going to be a little bit longer. So it's a great opportunity to hear directly from our Prime Minister, to engage with him. And it was an initiative that was started by a kid as well. So I think that's pretty neat. So I was going to go through the top 5 questions that my office is hearing, and give you the response that I can. One of the things that I think has been really important is that, and our government's been very open and transparent about this, is that, This is an ever-changing situation, and it's unprecedented. In modern history, we really haven't had, thank God, a global pandemic of this nature. And part of my job is, I'm a member of parliament, but I'm also the Minister of International Development. And, we are used to in Canada being the ones to go and help people over there who are experiencing an epidemic or a crisis. And we're not really used to having those same kind of health crises here in Canada or in the rest of the developed world. And so this is a new experience, and we're doing our very best. And as the Prime Minister has stated many times, we are going to reevaluate, reassess, and adjust as necessary. And I think that's what you've seen over the past few days. But our top priority is ensuring the health, safety, and economic security of Canadians. And so everything we're doing, everything we're pouring in, is to meet those objectives. So I'm going to get to the first question, which is, and we're kind of lumping these all together, but this is a lot of what my office is receiving these days. So the first question is, how are you ensuring that our essential service workers are protected? Like the cashier at the pharmacy, the grocery store clerk, the nurse, and the mail carrier, for example. And so this is where physical distancing is really important. As I started off saying that, we're all staying home so that we can protect ourselves and our families, but also so that we can protect the people who are going to work. It also means that when you are out and about in public or doing your groceries or whatever it is you need to do these days, that you're leaving a 6 feet distance between other people. I've, been going for walks with my son on a daily basis, and I'm always happy that people stop to say hi, but we always keep a safe 2 meter distance away. And we don't stop for very long, and sometimes we have a conversation as we continue to pass by. And so physical distancing doesn't mean that you stop talking to people. It doesn't mean that you don't connect virtually, but it does mean that we're all keeping a safe physical distance so that we can limit the spread of COVID-19 potentially that we may or may not have. The other thing that we did was we implemented the emergency order under the Quarantine Act that requires any person entering Canada by air, sea, or land to self-isolate for 14 days, whether or not they have symptoms of COVID-19. And this order is now fully implemented as of last week by the Canada Border Services Agency. And as some of you would have heard if you were on the telephone town hall that our mayor hosted, I think it was just last week, but things feel like they were a really long time ago. You would have heard that local police are helping to enforce and enact this, and they are conducting random spot checks on folks to make sure that they are abiding by it. And it's worthy to note that the penalties for not complying are very, very steep. Failure to comply with this order is an offense under the Quarantine Act, and the maximum penalties include a fine of up to $750,000 and or imprisonment for 6 months. So, if you or anyone has returned from abroad, you must self-isolate for a period of 14 days. And that means that you cannot leave the house, right? You cannot go for a walk. You cannot go to the grocery store. When you land, you must go straight home and call a friend or a family member to go get your groceries and drop them off for you. This is really, really important. It's really about making sure that we're protecting the health and safety of everyone. So the next question that we get quite a lot at my office is, what are you doing to support seniors, and what about the RIFs are you doing to support our retirement income? So a few things that we've done as a government to support seniors. The first was, and this really goes for everyone, no matter what your age is one of our initial things that we did was provide $500 million to the provinces to shore up their healthcare systems to respond to COVID-19. Um, we also provided $9 million through United Way Canada to help the country's older population get groceries, medication, and other critical items. And I was just chatting with Brad Park yesterday, who's the CEO of United Way Hamilton Halton. And they have already stood up an emergency line for seniors in our community through Food for Life Halton. And you can call 311 or 905 635 1106 if you're a senior who needs assistance getting groceries. All this information will be posted on my social media as well as my website, but don't hesitate to call my office and we would be happy to direct you as needed. Uh, for low and modest income seniors, we are providing a supplementary payment under the GST credit of close to $400 per adult and $600 per couple. And to provide seniors with flexibility with mandatory withdrawals from their registered retirement income funds, we are reducing minimum withdrawals from RRIFs by 25% for 2020, and this will help preserve RRIF assets during a volatile market. And finally, what I think is really important, and again, this is for seniors, but for everyone in Canada, is we are allowing any new taxes owing to be deferred until August 31st and extending the deadline to file your income taxes to June 1st. And many of you know that we run a community volunteer income tax clinic in Burlington. And we've postponed this for the time being, but we're in discussions to see what is possible to maybe assist folks over the phone so that they can get their taxes in and their assessment for their benefits for the upcoming year. But we'll have more to say on that in the near future. The third question that we get is with regards to availability of personal protective equipment and some questions around why we sent PPE to China. And I think these are all really legitimate questions and something that I just want folks in Burlington to know that, I've been raising quite a bit. With regards to sending PPE to China, I'll just address that because I think it's really important for us to recognize that our domestic response to COVID also has a global component because this virus knows no borders. And for us to truly be safe here in Canada, we have to stamp it out everywhere in the world. And so in early February, we did send PPE to China. That's part of Canada's international solidarity. We sent it through the Canadian Red Cross to the Chinese Red Cross. And it was a time when the virus was largely confined to China. And, we felt very strongly that it was a part of our commitment to the global fight to try and limit the spread outside of China. We also saw that last week, China reciprocated and donated tens of thousands of PPE back to Canada, new pieces, obviously. And we are currently procuring masks and gloves and ventilators and gowns and everything that we need, eye screens to make sure that our frontline workers are safe when they're treating COVID-19 patients. And just yesterday, we received millions of these. They're actually in a storage unit in a warehouse in Hamilton right now, and they'll be distributed across the province and across the country. The federal government is coordinating national procurement. I know I hear from a lot of frontline healthcare workers that are really worried about this. And I just want you to know that, it's something that I'm talking to my colleagues about constantly, and was really pleased to see the Prime Minister's announcement yesterday. Additionally, we've also been working with Canadian industries, including a local company, Burloak Technologies, that is going to be helping, with local production of PPE. And so we are going to have a domestic capacity. I mean, we've got gin distillers that are making hand sanitizer. We've got, Canada Goose that's now going to be making the hospital gowns that our doctors and nurses need. Bauer is shifting to making face masks for our healthcare professionals. We really have an incredible, response domestically here from our manufacturers that are retooling to make sure that we have the PPE needed for frontline workers. I think it's Thornhill Medical is going to be producing more ventilators here in Canada as well. So, I know that this is of great concern, and I just want to reassure you that I'm raising it constantly. I'm reviewing where we are, and also making sure that people have the information that they need. If you have extra PPE, for example, Joseph Brant Hospital is triaging what's available in the community. And on that note, I want to give a shout out to our local hospital, because many of you probably saw the news that they are building one of the first field hospitals for COVID-19. Very forward thinking. It was a great partnership between the hospital, the city, and the region to get this done. And there'll be an extra 93 beds available for the response here locally. So, I think it's important for everyone to know how closely all levels of government are working, how closely everyone is staying coordinated and in touch. I think it's really important, and I hope that gives folks a little bit of comfort as we move forward. The next question that I get a lot is about accessing the Canada Emergency Response Benefit. And I think this is a really important question, because we have pretty much redesigned the social security net in Canada just in the past couple of weeks to make sure that everyone who needs access to emergency assistance during this extraordinary time will get it. And so whether you're eligible for EI or not, you will be able to apply for the CERB. It will be available to workers who reside in Canada, who are at least 15 years old, who have stopped working because of COVID-19 or are eligible for employment insurance, regular or sickness benefits, who had an income of at least $5,000 in 2019 or in the 12 months prior to the date of their application, and who are or expect to be without employment or self-employment income for at least 14 consecutive days in the initial 4-week period. And this will be available for folks who have been laid off due to COVID, who have to stay home because they are sick or because they're in self-isolation, or because they have to take care of a child who is not in daycare or in school, or who has to take care of someone who has COVID. So there's a wide, we tried to make the eligibility criteria as wide as possible. And this link will be available as of Monday to start applying. But I do encourage everyone to check out my website or my social media streams for the link to where the CERB application will be, because they're going to open up application on a rolling basis. So for example, Monday will be for people who are born in the months of January, February, and March, and so on and so forth throughout the week. And so it's just really important that people know that this is, an unprecedented experience. I mean, this is the largest social support that will be given to Canadians in Canada's history. And, we want to make sure that this rolls out as smoothly as possible. And so we're trying to organize it to limit the number of people each day who will be able to apply online to make sure that the system can handle it. If you have any questions at all, again, don't hesitate to contact my office. We're doing our best to respond to people as timely as humanly possible. And my team, I have to give them a shout out, because they've just been working day and night to support people in Burlington. And I'm really proud of the work that they've done, and just really thank all of you for getting in touch when you have questions. So that's the CERB. Again, don't hesitate to contact my office if you have any other questions. The other thing that we announced this week, which is really important, is a wage subsidy for employers of up to 75%. We're still working through the details, but this is really about making sure that people can stay employed, because what we want is that when we get through this crisis, that we can have our economy come roaring back. And so if people can keep their jobs, it's more likely that we'll be able to bounce back out of this crisis in a much more efficient and effective way. And so that's what we're working on. Sorry, one thing that I did want to mention with the CERB that is super, super important is to get access as quickly as possible. We're strongly encouraging Canadians to register for a My CRA account. Or my account through CRA's website to facilitate the flow of support. And on that note, I just want to highlight something that has been so unfortunate throughout all of this is that we're just seeing a huge increase in scam attempts, and I think that's really unfortunate and just so despicable that people are trying to take advantage of folks during this very challenging and vulnerable time. But just know that the Government of Canada will never text or call you to ask for your bank account information or your SIN number to deposit your CERB. The CERB is also not available yet. So if anyone is getting in touch with you to ask for that information, to share the CERB with them, that's an immediate red flag to know that that's not true. If you ever have any questions about the legitimacy of a communication that you think may or may not be coming from the Government of Canada, contact my office. We will get to the bottom of it, but it's always better to be skeptical, to ask questions, than to send any personal information over the phone, over text, or over email. So please, please, please keep your spidey senses up. And if you're on the phone with someone, a Government of Canada employee is never going to yell at you or threaten you to get personal information. And if you have any doubts, ask for their employee number and share it with us, and we'll look into it. I guarantee you that if it's a scammer, they're not going to have an employee number and they're not going to share anything with you. But always, if you have any doubts whatsoever, just say, you know what, let me take down your information and I'll get back to you, and then contact my office and we'll help you out. Yeah, so those are the main questions that I've been getting with regards to our government's COVID-19 response. I have a couple more minutes before I have to get to my next official call. So I'm going to just kind of look through the comments here and see if there are any questions that I can answer quickly. Let's see. Okay, so I was asked about when Service Canada offices will reopen. And so that's an excellent question. So they were closed to the public. However, clients can apply for critical services online. As you can imagine, they're receiving a very high number of calls at their call centers. So if you cannot get through, try to call again. Contact my office. We are doing our best to support people to get in touch with Service Canada. But as you can imagine, we're also experiencing high volumes, and so are other MP offices. But definitely, like, this is what my office is for, and so we'll try our best. If you can, just keep trying calling them back. But I would ask, because we have had a few people who have said, oh, I tried calling Service Canada just to see if they would answer, and turns out they didn't. So just like the emergency rooms, if it's not urgent and you don't actually need to talk to them, don't clog up the telephone lines. That's really important, and the same goes for public health, right? Like, at first, I think there were a lot of people who were calling public health because they were obviously, nervous and concerned and wanted to get tested. But if you don't have symptoms, if you're feeling well, if you haven't returned from abroad, you don't need to call public health, and you can always go onto the region's website to see what the latest guidelines are with regards to calling public health. I'm just going to see. Oh, this is great. So I just got a question about, do you have any information on how we can volunteer and help? Absolutely. Thank you, Chris, for the excellent question. So there's a Facebook page that is caremongering in Burlington. And I'll try to share the link at the bottom here if it hasn't been shared already, but I know I've shared it on my page a number of times. And they're trying to coordinate and help folks who, need groceries delivered or medicine delivered to coordinate and organize that. And they're just doing an absolutely fantastic job. The other thing that we really need is, at this time, I know it like we're such giving and compassionate people here in our community and right across the country that we want to kind of rush out and help. But the action that we're being asked to do in this time of crisis is to stay home. And so if you can, consider making a donation to the Burlington Food Bank, consider making a donation to Halton Food for Life, consider making a donation to the Kids Help Phone, to the United Way, to the women's shelter here in Halton. There's a number of frontline community organizations that could really use your support. And so instead of going out and physically volunteering, if you can send $5 or $10, that would be a huge help. And our hospital foundation, of course. So those are all great things that you can do to help out. And then the other thing that there's a huge demand for right now. So if you're healthy and able to, is to donate blood. They're doing it in a way that, they're making sure everything is safe and clean. So please call Canada Blood Services to schedule an appointment if you're able to. There's a great demand for blood. So those would be really good things that you can do. And I'll make sure that we share the link for the caremongering group at the bottom. The other thing is to just limit the time that you're out in public. So we're asking everyone to try to do your groceries just once a week. That would be, really important instead of, making a daily outing of it. Oh, here's another question. So I think I'll take two more because I have to have another call at 10:30. But I'm very happy to maybe make this a weekly occurrence because I think it's a great way for me to update folks on what's going on and also to hear from you. So another question is with regards to what are the chances that Canadians will be offered the opportunity to get out to the rural areas to work on farms to replace the absent migrant workers? So first of all, I just want to reiterate that of the travel restrictions that we've put in place for Canadian borders, migrant workers, particularly with regards to agriculture, fisheries, but food processing as well, have been exempted from that. A number of them are already in Canada. They're subject to the 14-day mandatory quarantine as well. But we are still having migrant workers coming in to ensure that we have food security. That being said, there are opportunities for Canadians to work on farms as well. It's just that we often see that Canadians don't necessarily want to do those jobs or go do them. But absolutely, I've definitely seen in the news some farmers that are putting out job notices for Canadians to fill those spots. But the seasonal agricultural workers have been exempted from the travel restriction. We're taking all the necessary precautions to ensure that they are healthy and that they are safe while they're here. But that's something that we've been very, very cognizant of. Great. So I am just going through to see if there's any other questions. Oh, yeah, house rent. Okay, so with regards to support for small businesses, so this is the last question I'll take right now. And I saw that someone said the video is skipping and stalling. I'm sorry about that. I think I don't know if that's the case for everyone, but my connection seems to be pretty good. So that might be an individual thing, but we'll see if we can fix that for next time. And then just with regards to small businesses, so there is support available through the Government of Canada. We are offering up to $40,000 loan for small businesses to cover their immediate operational costs, as well as the 75% wage subsidy for employees. I will actually be doing a town hall on Monday with the Burlington Chamber of Commerce to go into more details on this. But for small businesses, really go to your bank, talk to them about it. They have all of the information on how to access these loans. And we're really trying to make sure that businesses can survive through this very difficult period so that once we get back, they can go back to thriving. One idea that I've heard, and I think it's a really neat one, is I put out some information with regards to supporting our local restaurants, right? So I know not everyone is able to, but if you can, a lot of our restaurants are doing takeout and delivery now. And the Taste of Burlington has a great link with all of the Burlington restaurants that have changed how they're serving people to keep things going. And another great idea I heard was that, if you're able to, keep your appointment theoretically with your hairdresser, keep your appointment theoretically with your chiropractor, so that they can kind of keep things going. And so even though you're not physically going in, you can still pay them for their services. I'm sure that would be really appreciated. I know not everyone is able to do that, but it just means that once we get through this, they'll be able to reopen their doors in a way that is um, yeah, is in a better position. So yeah, I guess I'm going to leave it there because I have to get to a cabinet call now. But I think this was, from my perspective, really good. Lots of great interaction. We shared the caremongering link now, so please check that out. It's a great way to help in our community. But remember that the number one thing that we're asking everyone is to please stay home as much as you possibly can, to limit your physical contact with others, and really just to keep us all safe. These are stressful times. I appreciate that. There is help available. Call 311. They can direct you to mental health supports if you need it. And for anyone under the age of 18, don't hesitate to call the Kids Help phone line. They're there for you. These can be really, really tough times. But you know what? The only way we're going to get through this is if we are caring and compassionate and empathetic to each other. And we're going to get through this together. So I'm going to sign off now, but I just really, really want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in today. And thanks everyone for all of your extraordinary efforts in this extraordinary time. And don't hesitate to get in touch with my office if we can be of any assistance at all. And I'll look forward to chatting with you again. Oh, yes, Oliver is in the background. I am working from home, and I have an incredible husband who's doing his best to keep him out of the picture for now, but I'm sure he'll make a cameo sometime soon. So thanks, everybody. Take care. Have a great weekend, and stay safe and stay healthy.